Two rooks or one queen. On face value, they're nearly identical. The rooks are worth 1 point more than the queen, but for the same reason that these pieces are better than these pieces, and these pieces are better than these pieces, point values don't take into account one very important thing: context. So which one really is better? Rooks move like this, and queens move like this. That means, on an open board, a rook can cover 14 squares, while a queen can cover anywhere from 21 to 27. But what if you add a second rook? Well, then the numbers become a little bit more interesting. Two rooks at a minimum cover 20 squares if they're placed in their starting positions. But if you're able to get them both in the center, you're looking at 26 squares of coverage. Even though a queen is worth one less point than two rooks, it can actually cover one more square. But a square difference is trivial. In fact, if we treat the overlapping squares of the two rooks as two separate squares, then rooks actually cover one more square than a queen, not one less. To get a better understanding of which side is better, we have to keep in mind that chess is not played in a vacuum. Otherwise, bishops would be far better than knights, and pawns would be damn near useless. Rather, it's a complex game of pieces, scenarios, and strategies, with just a single piece being the difference between a checkmate and a losing position. Although these two sides are nearly identical in point value and nearly identical in squares covered, there's a lot more we can uncover when looking at it from a different angle. Before we go any deeper, let's go ahead and get some simple vocabulary out of the way. Openings are the beginning stages of a game. They're finite and often memorized. It's like saying the answer to a simple times table problem. Then there's the middle game, where your board has transitioned from one of 20 openings to one out of 100 quintillion possible positions. Most of your pieces are still on the board and coordinate with each other to set up an attack or defense. And then there's the endgame, where the board has opened up and you need to convert any advantages you have. In chess, velocity can be used to describe how fast a piece gets involved in an attack or defense. Here, you can see that this attacking queen has transitioned to defense in one move, indicating high velocity. High velocity is good because it generates fast transitions to attack or defense while making it hard to counter. If I set these two rooks up for an attack and it doesn't work out, then I'll have to move here, and then here, and then here, and then here, all just to transition back onto defense, and by that time, I might already be screwed. There's also batteries, coordination, blocking, sacrifices, all of which are pretty simple to understand. Each of these concepts also interact with each other. In this example, there's coordination between the bishop and queen, between the knights, and between the rooks. The truth is, figuring out which two sets of pieces is better really just boils down to what each piece excels at in a position and how they complement each other. Let's examine the case of two rooks and a queen deeper. In the opening, there is just no way the rooks can get involved. They have low velocity and are difficult to maneuver around a cluttered board. Typically, rooks stay in the corner and are only ever touched during castling. A queen, on the other hand, is very mobile and can quickly be brought into an attack like this. But just because they can be used in the opening, doesn't mean they should. Most openings forbid the movement of the queen, since they often get trapped and is an easy target that allows the opponent to develop with tempo. Tempo means getting free moves because the opponent is forced to use their turn to respond to a threat, which in this case is retreating the queen from countless attacks. Although rooks and the queen are typically limited in the opening, this round goes to the queen. Now here is where it gets interesting. The middle game is where the differences between the two rooks and the queen really start to shine. Once some pieces are traded off and the position starts opening up, rooks and queens get more involved in the game. A queen works well with knights and bishops and can be used to make batteries like this and to attack the enemy king. It can also be used to set up tactics like this, and surprisingly, even like this. On the other hand, two rooks dominate open files in the middle game. They typically form a battery with each other, protecting key pieces and defending the king from back rank and other mates. Not only are they defensive menaces, but rooks defend critical squares that allow other pieces to enter the other half of the board safely and wreak havoc in the opposing camp. In fact, rooks are the rare two-way piece that can be used for offense and defense at the same time. A pair of rooks are unique compared to a queen in that there are two pieces, so they can often be separated if needed. One can be sent to attack and the other to defend. One can be positioned on the left and the other on the right, each taking control of half the board. Hell, one could even be sacrificed for a less valuable knight or bishop in order to simplify a winning position, a concept known as the exchange sacrifice and often seen at the top level. A queen, on the other hand, is typically limited to attacking, simply because it is too valuable. In positions where your opponent attacks, a queen, unlike rooks, can almost never be used to block, since it'll be exchanged for a piece of lower value. With so many uses and strategies, the two rooks and queen often dominate the middle game. In fact, the side with the better positioned rooks and queens can easily convert this into either a material advantage or checkmate. This round is a draw. That brings us to the most difficult stage of a chess match, the endgame. After most of the pieces are traded off, the latent potential of the remaining pieces is witnessed. Small advantages like having more pawns are exploited and decide the game. The impact of velocity diminishes as stability is more valued. And while the battle between the two rooks and queen has been nearly equal so far, two rooks really dominate a queen in the endgame. As long as the two rooks are connected and protected, they nearly always overpower a queen. The coordination between two rooks can slowly advance the position safely. You see, a queen serves as a catalyst. It works well with other pieces but simply cannot do much by itself, aside from capturing a few undefended pawns. The reason why two rooks work better in the endgame all comes down to the idea that a queen can never be traded for a rook. Since the rooks protect each other, they can basically do anything like capture enemy pawns, throw in checks, and escort pawns to promotion, as long as the rooks are protected. And to be honest, there isn't really much a single queen can do by itself, except this, and this, and this. Oh, that's a draw. But aside from the rare case where a king is vulnerable to the perpetual check trap, rooks completely dominate a queen and easily take this round. So, to recap, the answer to two rooks versus a queen is more nuanced than it seems, but can be boiled down to, it depends on the position. Generally, two rooks are almost definitely advantageous in endgames and some middle games, while queens are slightly better in openings and some middle games. But since rooks are typically better in more positions than the queen, I'd have to give this debate to the rooks. But like any good debate, there are arguments for both sides, and the ultimate choice is left for you to experiment with and decide.